In the news this week, teenage youth shot dead by police in Willetton knife attack. Witness reveals terrifying details of late-night incident.
Also this week, calls for tougher laws in response to the rise in alleged knife crime in the city.
Will public servants' pay rise lead to more inflation? The latest argument on the matter as unions push for better government pay. Peter Kennedy's exclusive take.
Plus, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Maliva Thorne.
Good evening. First tonight, a 16-year-old boy was shot dead by police after a confrontational knife attack. The incident unfolded near Bunnings on High Road and Leach Highway around 10 p.m. last night. WAMA News was the first to reveal that witnesses reported how a man chased her brother-in-law with a long knife before witnessing another person being attacked. The witness's family member told us, quote, "Then a man approached him. When there were about 5 minutes left, the man suddenly muttered something similar to Allah Akbar and pulled out a long knife, chasing after my younger brother." It's understood that a 16-year-old boy was reportedly radicalized online. You can read the full story available now on the WAMA News website. Meanwhile, Premier Roger Cook, Police Commissioner Cole Blanche and the Australian Arab Association WA President Amal Youssef gave their responses to the attack. Here's a summary.
A 16-year-old male armed with a knife who had already wounded a member of the public rushed the attending officers. In response, a police officer discharged his firearm, fatally wounding the 16-year-old male. There are indications he had been radicalised online, but I want to reassure the community. At this stage, it appears that he acted solely and alone. Members of the WA Muslim community who were concerned by his behaviour contacted police prior to the incident, and I thank them for their help. Our police responded within minutes. They encountered a very confronting situation, but their rapid and professional response kept our community safe. I've called a meeting of the multi-faith community leaders, which I will attend later today. My heart goes out to everyone affected by this incident.
At about 10 last night, being Saturday night, police received a 000 call from a male. That male indicated that he was going to commit acts of violence. He didn't provide his name nor a location, and the phone call was then terminated. Some minutes later, police received another 000 call from a person in the vicinity of High Road and Leach Highway in Willetton, stating that a male with a knife was running around a car park. Police immediately responded to that 000 call, and 3 officers attended that location within 3 minutes of that call. They exited their vehicle and were confronted with a male, alone, with a large kitchen knife. 2 officers drew their tasers, and one of the officers drew his firearm. They challenged the male to put down the knife, which he did not comply. I have watched the body worn. He rushed one of the officers who was holding a taser, and the taser was deployed. A second taser was also deployed. Both of them didn't have the full desired effect, and the male continued to advance on the third officer with the firearm, who fired a single shot and fatally wounded the male. The deceased male was a 16-year-old Caucasian man. He was taken to hospital and declared deceased at approximately 11 p.m. It's a very tragic event in Western Australia. It saddens me that I have to be here today talking about this incident. The police who responded acted professionally within their training. As the Premier said, members of the Western Australian Muslim community contacted police, also ringing 000 just prior to the incident with their concerns. And I want to thank them for having the courage to reach out. We enjoy a very good relationship with our Muslim community.
The organisation is saddened by what has happened overnight, and our hearts and our prayers go out to the families that are involved. The association's stand is wherever we can help the community, we will. I was told that the young man in question had mental health issues, which is quite a big issue at the moment, and it needs to be addressed broadly across the community.
I understand that you'll be meeting with the government this afternoon regarding this matter. What do you expect to come out of the meeting?
Yes, we are meeting, and my expectations is some resolution to what is happening, and the mental health issue with our youth to be addressed quite in any way possible. We have a lot of youth at this present moment that does have mental health issues, and that does need to be addressed, and quickly.
The Indian Muslim community of Western Australia would like to wholeheartedly condemn the unfortunate incident that happened last night. We would also like to appreciate and acknowledge the quick response of WA Police. In a matter of minutes, they were able to mitigate the event last night. In the Muslim community, we live by the motto of love for all, hatred for none. We not only condemn this in the harshest terms possible, but we would also like to mention that Islam has nothing to do with any acts of violence that are committed in its name.
The Cook government say they will be looking into ensuring tougher laws on violence involving knives. This comes in the light of the 21-year-old female being allegedly attacked outside the gate of a car park in Northbridge earlier this week. Paige Reid reports.
CCTV footage earlier this week shows horrifying images of an alleged altercation between several youths in a shopping centre car park gate on Nicks Lane. Soon after, footage shows several young women allegedly fleeing the scene. It was soon confirmed by police that a 21-year-old woman had sustained stab wounds. A 16-year-old female has been charged over the incident and faced court this week. WA has seen a rise in knife crimes in recent years, with attacks becoming more regular. WA Premier Roger Cook says his government are looking into changing the laws when it comes to knife crimes.
We're continuing to look at the laws in relation to violence, utilising a knife, and as a result of that, we'll continue to make sure that we have the appropriate laws in place to keep Western Australians safe. Knife crime has increased in the volume and the severity of the incidences. So if we need to respond to that measure, we will.
The 21-year-old female was taken to Royal Perth Hospital to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Anyone with information is encouraged to contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. Paige Reid, WAMN News.
Hi there. Are you looking for a new home or want to refinance your car mortgage to get a better rate? At AA Finance Solutions, we have the expertise and knowledge to help you to find the right loan for your needs and budgets. Contact us today. Let us help you to make your home ownership dream a reality.
AA Finance Solutions, your local mortgage broker.
As pressure mounts on the cost of living, so does the push for high wages among Western Australia's public servants. Teachers and health workers spearhead the demand for significant pay increases. Yet concerns arise tonight that such moves could exacerbate inflation and potentially delay interest rate reductions for homeowners. We begin with Peter Kennedy's exclusive take.
The state budget on May the 9th and the federal budget on May the 14th promise to shape the economic framework for the country for the rest of the year. And bear in mind that there's an election, federal election early next year and a state election as well. So public servants in Western Australia very keen to get pay increases, particularly school teachers and health workers seeking big pay increases. The government keen to hold the line, but the pressure is on because the government's got the election in the background and it doesn't want to upset traditional workers who support it at the polls. So these are the issues for both the federal and state government. Big spending budgets, that's the threat, and that's what the government has to avoid. At the same time, it has to avoid increased inflationary pressures. Inflation just a little bit too high for the government's liking just at the moment. It wants to get the inflation down. Reason? It would like to get interest rates down too by the end of the year. That is proving or indicating that it's likely to be a big challenge. So the race is on for the state and federal government to position themselves for federal election success early next year. They'll aim to do that in their budgets in the first half of May, but the key is to keep inflation down, and so that for the federal government there can be interest rate cuts either at the end of the year or at the beginning of next year. If inflation doesn't come down and interest rates don't come down and perhaps even increase, then there are political problems. That's the big challenge ahead for Roger Cook and Anthony Albanese. Peter Kennedy, WA MN News.
Search efforts for a missing 21-year-old man have been suspended by WA Police this weekend. Zane Stevens has been missing since his Toyota Land Cruiser got bogged north of Broome last Friday, the 26th of April. Mr. Stevens has not contacted his family since then. Despite extensive searches over land, air and sea by police and SES, Mr. Stevens was not found. His auntie Tanya Stevens made an emotional appeal to the public via the media, calling for information.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody who was involved in the search. You know, the SEC, the police are actually coming from Perth to help. You know, you've actually did a big help. But, you know, still main concern is that we want more people to come forward, because somebody would have saw Zane. You know, if you saw Zane or you know where he is, just please reach out, because all we want to know is closure and that he's safe. That's all we want, is for Zane to be safe and healthy.
The Cook government announced this week that they'll be investing a further $154.6 million towards improving emergency access for Western Australians and developing a new mental health co-response model. This new model will be part of the WA Virtual Emergency Department, which is located within the State Health Operations Centre. The waived service offers people the option of receiving urgent care, such as telehealth, in the comfort of their own home rather than waiting in an emergency department. The new system will reduce the number of admissions to hospitals and address the underlying causes of ramping within WA hospitals, as well as improve response times for the state's emergency services. Health Minister Abhijit Sanderson says her government is working hard to reduce ramping hours, with a 27% reduction in the last 6 months. And this year's budget is facilitating the delivery of these reforms.
The WA state government have announced a $34.5 million boost for programs focusing on helping children in Western Australia. This is intended to improve the outcomes for kids in the state, and the partnership focuses on co-design and collaboration with the WA community. The partnership will last for 10 years and $15.6 million will go into it at the soon-to-be-held state budget. Furthermore, the Minduru Foundation will also put money into projects in the state, with an extra $19 million going into the partnership. This $19 million will allow for ongoing financial support into critical child development stages. The government had already invested in the partnership, which is a collaboration between the Telethon Kids Institute, the WA government and the Minduru Foundation.
And now here's Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly medical and news commentary.
Hi, thanks for your time. In the light of a few tragic events that have been in the news recently where first responders have had to use a fatal force in order to get a situation under control and save lives, I want to say a few words about post-traumatic stress disorder amongst first responders and military personnel. Also happens in healthcare and can happen in other industries as well, or people who've been exposed to traumatic events for whatever reason. It's a complex psychological and at times psychiatric issue for people, whereby they can suffer from increase in things like depression and anxiety and have difficulty in functioning in their return to life after these events. It's been well known throughout culture, going back to last century, known as shell shock in the soldiers who had returned from the First World War, having seen terrible things, and the same after the Second World War. And often we haven't had a lot of understanding and compassion as a society for those people who suffer disability as a result of having been exposed to traumatic events. There is help available, there is treatment available for these things, and there are even new areas, new medications and new techniques which are being used to try and reduce the triggering symptoms that people often get, things like the sound of a car backfiring or a sudden confrontation to someone who's been working in a battle scenario or has been involved in the use of firearms in civilian life. those things can be triggering. So working on reducing those triggers is something that doctors and psychologists and other mental health care professionals aim for. It can be a difficult thing for families, and all of the successful strategies start with understanding where these issues are coming from, and also includes avoiding self-treatment, things like drugs and alcohol, and avoidance of the activities of normal life. So my heart goes out to anyone who's involved in the kind of tragic law enforcement incidents that we've seen recently, and particularly those who put themselves in the way of harm as a normal part of their job. And I repeat my call to governments to treat these kind of employees decently. So whether it's Defence Force, your police, nurses, paramedics, doctors in emergency departments, and teachers even, anyone who's responding to the bleeding edge of trauma in the community needs to be properly looked after. We're a rich country, we can afford it. Thanks very much for your time.
And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Remember to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. Full details on wamnnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.